Good morning, everybody. Grab your brown liquid drugs and get ready for another Career Therapy Live. We are joined today by Josh Rech, founder of Kobe.org. Check out right here, check it out, and creator of the Your Creative Haven podcast. We're going to be talking about collaboration. We're going to be talking about creativity, and we'll probably just be catching up a bunch because Josh and I met each other when we were kids, so really excited for this conversation. So grab your coffee and strap in. It is Tuesday, October 27th, and this is Career Therapy Live.
I'm too old for this. Been around this, broken down for way too long. Left my home for this. Story-eyed, it's no surprise. Things went wrong. What was I thinking, babe? All the mistakes I made.
Good morning, Josh. How you doing, man?
Good. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm tired, but good.
You got your coffee ready?
Got the brown liquid drugs ready.
There we go. I love it.
Yeah, man. It's good to catch up. It's good to see you again. We were chatting a little bit before going live here, and you've just got so many cool things going on. And I know we caught up like, what, a year or 2 years ago?
Yeah,
maybe?
like a couple of years ago. Yeah.
It's amazing how time flies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd love for you to just kind of kick things off by, telling us a little bit about the work you're doing and how you came up with the idea of Kobe.
Yeah. Wow. Kobe has been a long time in the making. It didn't start off as Kobe. That name actually just came about in the last year and a half. But I've always loved anything creativity. I have done film. That was my previous career. Still currently doing film on the side. But I was like, I just absolutely love working with friends, and I love working and collaborating with people on creative projects. And so that was the beginning, was like having that realization. And I think we did a short film in probably 2014, 2013, somewhere around there. But we did a short film, and we had all of our friends, like we had probably 15 to 20 people working on this short film. Most of them didn't have any film experience at all. It was just me and maybe a couple other guys, and we're like, hey, let's just create this thing. And from that, I was like, this is amazing. Just working with friends is so much fun. We had like three to 5 days of filming and all this prep work and stuff. And I was like, how can I make this happen more? Like, be around people that I love being around, and working on something creative. And I try to do I was actually just talking to my wife about it. I was like, I kind of did like 4 or 5 iterations of Kobe before it came about. And I always had a vision for a physical space, and that's the goal. But Kobe officially started about two years ago. And I got introduced to, there's 4 of us currently on the leadership at Kobe, but there was 2 others, but I got introduced to everyone a couple of years ago through a mutual friend, and then just randomly playing basketball with one of them. So it just like we kind of came together. I just was sharing what I cared about, and was like, hey, I really want to have this space where people can collaborate and create together. And so we've been meeting for over 2 years now. We met every week saying, hey, what do you want this thing to become? And so now here we are, and we're having to be virtual right now. So so that's kind of where we're at. We're doing we're basically doing the thing called Creative Mastermind, where anyone with a project or a business idea, so entrepreneurs and creatives, come together, and it's like a little creative support group. So that's kind of what we're working on right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's cool. It's like I like how you phrase that, a little creative support group. And one of the things, because we had caught up about 2 years ago, I think it was right around, maybe you had just launched it?
I had, it was right before I launched it, I think we had connected right after I left my film job. I co-founded the film production company with another guy, and I was like, hey, this is not where I want to be. And I know I want to try to do something else. And I wasn't actually even expecting to be co-B at the time. I was like, hey, I want to do some coaching, like for people, like very similar to what you were doing. And I was like, I just want to help people find what they are passionate about and what they're good at, and help them move in a direction. And so I tried that. I tried that for a couple months, and I was like, that might not be the thing that I want to do. So
how did the name come about? What history there?
It's funny. I can hardly remember how we even came up with the name. I think we were just kind of brainstorming like words, and we're like, we're like, I know B came out of like we're not like a group that is like a hustle and grind kind of like entrepreneur group where it's like just like work at it all the time. And because pretty much all of us have been at a place where like, we've definitely been at a place of burnout and work before. And so like, we don't want to do that to people. That's like a terrible feeling. And we want to figure out how to have some balance in our lives where you're just not like, work is not like the focus all the time. And so we're like, B is a great word. And I think just like, we're like, one of the phrases, and I can't remember if it's our mission or vision statement, but basically it's like, we want to do this together. And so that's where we came up with Co. And so like it just kind of came out of just like a little brainstorming session. And what's funny is like, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Like I wasn't in love with it at first. But I learned that from my last production company. It was like, hey, like a name becomes what it is over time. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. Everyone loves it, so I'm on board. And so now, I mean, I love it now.
That's awesome.
Sense. So, yeah,
that's super cool. I think I mean, every morning when we do these live streams, we pull up this book and we read from it. And one of the things that stands out in what you're saying is this idea that like, it's really important to have projects and to, follow your interests and be creative and collaborate with people. But a lot of times the way the internet is structured, the way that hustle culture is set up is like, do it until you're dead. And it's actually something I'm going through right now of like, I'm running my own business, I'm doing all this content, and content can easily fill every minute and every hour of your life. And I know you've got a podcast and stuff, and it's, you could endlessly edit if you want to, right? Like there's really no stopping point unless you make a stopping point. And so I love the idea that part of your name is like, just do what you do and get better at it and be around people. It's a really almost like Zen approach to creativity in a way.
Yeah. I love that, what you just said. And yeah, I think it is learning about how to like just be sometimes. And like that's when we were talking about like having a space. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know what co-working spaces are by now, and we were talking about something like that. But we're like, we don't want to have to like feel like you have to like be working all the time there. Like we want to be about like building relationships and friendships too, and that was a big part of it. We're like, that's a big part of life, and we want to help foster that and bring people together that are like-hearted and creativity and collaboration and entrepreneurship, and all those things. So.
Well, and that's one of the things that I really wanted to chat with you about on this live stream, and why I think it's so interesting for the folks who are watching is because when it comes to when it comes to creative work, it's almost built into it that you have to be collaborative, right? You can't, if you want to make a short film, you have to get 15 people together. I guess you could do it on your own, but it would be a lot of split screening and green screening.
Yeah.
Like but at a certain point, like, you can't do everything in the creative space. And so it's almost like expected that you have to collaborate. And if you aren't good at collaborating or networking or doing any of these things, it's not really a question of like, should I? It's no, I have to if I ever want to do the things I want to do. But in other careers, like, folks who watch this are in marketing or coding or all these other different places. And like, it's not necessarily built into the mindset of the work to be collaborative and creative. And one of the big things that I try and help people with as a coach is to like, stop thinking about it as networking and start thinking about it as nerding out. And the way that you phrased like the whole creation and like how it's been iterative and changing over time. And that's very much like you said you were at the basketball court and you were just gushing about the things you're interested in. And that, like, people don't think, oh, playing, like, my hobbies can actually be the thing that leads to the career that I build. Like that connect doesn't always happen. And I'm curious, like, were you always, I mean, we knew each other when we were real little, so I don't know, like, how your personality changed from the early days of like running around Lake Arlington or whatever. But like, was that something that you had to develop? Was that something that you naturally were drawn to? How did it, and the other folks in the group, is it natural for them or did they sort of seek this out because it was a tough thing that they were working on?
Yeah, I think for me, as far as I know, it's been a natural thing. I mean, I'm thinking of myself in college and in high school, and I think I just, like, whenever I'm passionate about something, I just am always sharing it with people. I'm like, anyone that will listen, and so I've learned over time, like, okay, I've learned to see when people aren't interested at all, or don't understand what I'm talking about. So that, like, but I'll start sharing and be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. And I think it's easier when it's something that you're super passionate about. A lot of people have jobs to pay the bills and stuff, and it makes it a little bit harder when it's that way. But I think for me, like, it's just so easy to share. And so, like, when I'm playing basketball, I'm like sitting, like, in between games, I was just like sitting on the bench with this guy. I was like, this is a cool guy. Like, he seems pretty legit. And so just started asking him about, like, what he's doing. And he was, like, looking for a sales job at the time. And I was like, and I was actually, we were looking for a sales position at our video production thing. And I was like, all right, let's just start meeting up. And so then we met up, but then we just started talking about other stuff. And I was like, this is what I'm really passionate about. And he's like, that is the coolest thing ever. I'm going to share this with my brother, because he's talking about similar kind of things. And so that's kind of like how that happens for me. I think for other people on a team, they probably, it's more learned for at least one of the guys on the team. But yeah, so I'd say it's kind of split. As far as just, like, learning how to communicate, like, that's one thing I'm working on with this one guy's, like, learning how to communicate your vision and to help people see it and be excited about it and stuff. So yeah, so there's been growing, but I think for me though, it's just been like a natural thing. I just am like, when I am excited, I'm just like, hey,
yeah,
anyone that wants to listen, here, come hear about this thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so what have the iterations looked like over the years? If you go all the way back to the beginning, I think people think it's all at once or not at all. And so, like,
for sure.
How has it sort of grown?
Yeah, I honestly, like, even where Kobe is right now, we're just, I had one of the women on our team, I had her over the other day, and we were just talking through it, and I was like, we didn't even know that where we're at right now. We didn't have any idea, like, 3 months ago, whatever. So it's like changing all the time. Like, and so from the very first iteration of it that I can remember was I tried to get a group of friends together. I think there's like 11 of us, and like I feel like just it started with like our family, our house, like was always like a gathering place for people like that. So we were just like, I was just used to that, as just having people around all the time and like hosting people. And so I think I learned that from my parents, just being like that. So I was always like trying to get people together. And so I was like, hey, we have these friends that are super creative. Like, I feel like we can do some really cool stuff. And so just gather them all at my parents' house. And this is probably right out of college for me, probably like 2011, 2012. And I was like, man, we have musicians, we have graphic designers, web developers, video photography people, all these kind of creative people. And I was like, what if we just got together and we started talking about what we could do? And so we met for, I don't even know how many weeks it was. But basically we were trying to figure out a project to work on. We're like, we basically need some direction in a small project. And that was a time where I learned, okay, there needs to be some structure. You can't just get together and be like, all right, let's do something.
Someone shows up with a trombone and you're like, well, I don't know what to do with this.
Exactly. So we did like a small project, like small individual projects, and like so we can get to know each other more. Like we did like a vision board or a mood board for ourselves, and like, hey, this is like me on a mood board, so we can like learn about each other more before we start working on these projects. And that kind of fizzled out. Like it was awesome. It was really fun. And just coming up with ideas. We came up with some crazy ideas, and nothing ever really came out of that.
What was it like? Do you remember any of the really crazy ones?
Oh man, we were talking about like having some sort of building, some sort of space, and like building some sort of like, I don't even know how to explain it, like some sort of like experience, like that people would go and like do this tour of. It'd be like almost similar to a museum, and it got like way out there. That was like, at the time I was like, I have no idea how we would do anything like this.
Fair enough, yeah.
And so we were just like, hey, let's think of the biggest thing we could do. And that helped me learn of like how to like facilitate a conversation, because we like got way out in left field, and it was fun. Like we had some fun people in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had some big ideas that we kind of got off topic in those meetings.
That's what's so fun though, is like the early years. I think as we get older, it's hard. It almost becomes harder and harder to be that kind of pie in the sky creative. I remember when one of the first iterations of career therapy was called Idea Lemon, and I was doing it with a buddy from college. And I remember we were like, let's create a journal. We had a new project every week that we wanted to launch. And I remember this one time we had like created this whole journal, and we were about to like pull the trigger and like get it physically created and produced, and it was going to cost a ton of money. And I was like, wait a second, let's pause a second and let's like put it on the website and see if anyone downloads it. And no one downloaded it. And I was like, yeah, maybe we should.
I thought that was a very smart move.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's kind of funny how you sort of learn these things. And then as you get older and older, you're like, okay, wait a second. What is the effort to like ROI ratio sometimes? And like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, and that reminded me, we were that was actually the project we were working on, creating a magazine. That was like our down to earth project.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, we can do this. Everyone had like a couple pages. I honestly don't remember what happened with it. Like I was super pumped about my couple pages. I think it just happened. Everyone was like, hey, I've got a lot going on at work, kind of thing.
Well, that's the hard part about collaboration is, everyone is so busy, especially as we get older, right? Like family, kids, all these things start to creep in. And that is one of the reasons why folks just kind of go to work, come home, do their thing, and it's totally fine. But it does make it more and more difficult to like find these creative spaces. And that's why I think, it's important to have that space created in an intentional way in order for folks to kind of tap in, right? I think it's hard for everyone to create their own communities especially when we feel so isolated and everything going on. But if you can tap into communities that already exist, that's huge. And so the fact that you're building that is really cool. So that you were trying some magazines and stuff. Were there any other iterations that you want to touch on?
Yes. Yeah. So after that, I was like, oh, that was so fun getting people together and like dreaming and trying to come up with ideas. And then the next iteration that I remember was gathering people for dinners. Like I was like, let's like get people together. We'll cook and we'll have like, we'll just get like this big table and we'll all like eat together. And then we'll like, I'll have like specific questions. So I learned that there needed to be a little bit of structure.
Yeah.
Like I would ask like one like big question of like, hey, like if you had like if you got $1 million today, what would you do with that? Like, how would you use that? And the people that we invited were all sort of creatives that had ideas and entrepreneurs and stuff. And so that was fun, just like talking about that. And I was like, okay, this could be a thing. That also kind of fizzled out. It was just like,
it's so fun for me to hear your story, because it's like I feel like we met when we were so young, and then we went off and did our own things, and we did like very similar things over the years. We had a series that we did that was kind of the same. It wasn't dinners, it was like cocktail hours, and we figured the whole purpose of like, we were trying to quote fix networking, and one of the things that we like is like, it's always this long talk from some person that gets real boring, and then you only have like 10 minutes before the event and 10 minutes at the end of the event to actually talk to people. And so we reversed it, where like the talk is only minutes and the rest of the time is conversing. And we were like, what are some big questions, like your $1 million question? Our question was like, we had my drummer from my band back in the day, and he talked about like how Starbucks uses white noise to cancel out things. And so our question to the group was, what's a time that music impacted how you dressed and who you hung out with, and why did that change? And then people started talking about gauging their ears and dyeing their hair, and like, that's a better place to start than tell me about yourself, or like super, like, what do you do? It's like, oh my God, you had green hair when you were a teenager. Like, let's talk about that. And then of course it always gets back to work at some point. So
cool. I love that so much. It's so funny because we did one event before March, before all the COVID stuff. But that was like our idea. Like we're like, let's figure out how to get people in a room, gather them, and they can meet each other. Like I do not like the word networking at all. Right. Like when people, I just like, I mean, you can tell like when people are just like talking to you because they want to get something out of it. And it's not like a bad thing. Like everyone wants something, but you can tell when people are just like trying to use you as a stepping stone to like advance their career and stuff. And so I was like, I want to like help actually build like friendships and stuff that, and people that everyone want, like just people who want to work together, because they enjoy being around each other. And so I love that idea of like reversing that, of having like the 10 minutes of someone talking and then spending the time people meeting. I mean, that's why you go to the events. Like, it really does. I mean, it can be really, really boring listening to someone for a long time. Like, unless they have some like super interesting like story and a really good speaker. But yeah, I love that you guys did that. And that's what we're trying to figure out, is like, how can we create engaging events for people? And, so I think that's like such an important thing. And I mean, that's why like I started like talking about COVID. I was like, I know there's these needs. Like a lot of people, like even before COVID, felt isolated or lonely. That was that for me, that was what it came out of. It was like, I want to be able to have a place where I can connect with people. Cause like I'm introverted, but I definitely am a connector, where I can pretty much talk to just about anyone on the spot and be okay. Feel like I have enough questions to be able to ask someone And I've learned that over time. But for people who aren't necessarily good at that, they're like, how are they supposed to meet people?
Right.
And so anyways, that was one of the big problems we were solving with Kobe, is like, how can we solve the problem of loneliness and isolation, and figure out how to connect people around creativity. And so that's what we're trying to do and figure out. And I love brainstorming about that, of what kind of event can we do? And it's especially challenging right now. People get tired of being on Zoom and video chat and stuff. And I mean, and so that's kind of hard. And so we're just, that's our brainstorming right now, is like, how can we connect people right now? So
yeah, that tired of Zoom thing, even the facilitators get tired. I have a meetup that I haven't done in forever, and we're doing another one soon, but it's just like, especially as a coach, I'm on Zoom all day, every day, and it definitely can wear on you. And are there any like ideas that you've had that have been like, or any ways that maybe the Kobe team has been collaborating that's been like, oh, this is actually a fun way to do it? Or are you kind of in like the trying to respond and react phase?
I think masterminds are honestly one of the best things that we did. And like I said earlier in this, we had no idea that we're going to be doing that even 3 months ago. Like we had a totally different plan for Kobe. We were going to start off with like in-person events, or like, we'll just start doing gatherings so people can meet each other, whether it's just like a social gathering, or we'll do like workshops and stuff. And then we're like, wow, we can't do that anymore. We had a space booked, and we're just like, you know what? Like, we're like, just keep the money, whatever. We'll just like, because we were meeting at a this Australian woman had a bakery in Chicago. And so anyways, we had a whole plan to like do all these events with like at her space, and it just like ended up all being.
Isn't that funny? This was the first year in my life I planned out a full year's worth of events. I had the whole calendar. I had it all up on Meetup. I had gotten like a place to do it. And then a few months in, everything shut down. I was like,
and that never happens. You never plan that much in advance.
No, never. A whole year, never. It was crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that was So we didn't plan out the whole year, but we had like 5 events planned or something, 3 or 5 events, and so it was so weird. Never would have thought that anything like that would happen.
Yeah. Well, so I'm really excited about what you're building next, and I know that half hour flew by. So give us a little rundown of the things that you're working on now and where folks can find it.
Yeah. So we're doing, first thing is a podcast. So you can find that. It's called Your Creative Haven. You can search that. Thank you for that. Or you can search Kobe. I'm sure it'll come up there. Or you can even search my name, Josh Rech, Rech. And somewhere on Spotify or on Apple, probably on Google, pretty much anywhere you probably listen to a podcast, you could find it. So it's out there. It's pretty easy to find. And then you can also find us on co-b.org. That's our website. Right now, it's pretty much a landing page and a description of what we are and why we do what we do. And also there will be like a mastermind sign up. We're starting the next one in January after all the holidays. And just a quick rundown of what a mastermind is. A lot of people probably don't know. But basically, if you have an idea for a project or a business, if you're a creative or an entrepreneur, you're like, hey, I've had this idea forever and I've never done anything about it. I've just talked about it for years. Like that was me. That's a lot of people. And so if you do have that and you're like, I really want to like actually launch this, or if you're just trying to grow your business or like you have this project you've been working on, you just need help. You need support from other people. Like we've learned the biggest thing is just being around people and having accountability. And it's a 6-week time where you meet once a week with your group, and there'll be 2 of us facilitating it, and then probably about 4 or 5 people in your group. And basically you come in to the group and you're like, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is where I need help. And you'll have a whole group of people to help connect you and help give you resources and share their skills and stuff. So that's one of the best things that we're doing, and it's helping a lot of people right now.
That's
so
awesome.
It
is interesting how being around people who are thinking like you has such a big difference. Like when you're at home just isolated by yourself, it's so easy to watch Netflix, but when that call is coming up, it's like, oh no, I got to do something. It's that motivator. So I love it, man. And I really appreciate you taking the time and chat with me this morning. For those who want to know, what's the podcast about? And
so we started off with a series of all the struggle, like the main struggles that creatives have, and probably most people in general have. You talk about things like not feeling good enough in your job, like, hey, all these, and comparing yourself, like, man, it seems like everyone else has it together and I have no idea what I'm doing, or fear of failure, or struggling with anxiety, pretty much all the big struggles. And then like tips on how to overcome those things. And so that was the first series. And then we have 2 other podcasts. One's an interview with our team, and we talk about how to know what you're made for and what you're not made for. And then the latest one is actually an interview with my brother and my cousin. We grew up making movies together and short films, and that's actually, I mean, I'm a little biased, but that's like been my favorite.
It's a good one. That's one I was
fun. It's so fun to hear all the stories, and you hear of like all the things that we tried. And it's called The Pure Joy of Creating, and it's because it's just like I just am like doing something because I love it. And, and that's a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. Well, it's been a blast catching up, man. I can't wait to see what you have coming up next, and just keep us posted on everything.
Yeah, I will for sure. Yeah,
really cool stuff.
Thanks for having me on here. It was fun.
You got it. All right, I'll chat with you soon.
All right, sounds good.
Cheers. Hey, good morning to June there. I saw your note there. Just wanted to slip in the hello there. June will be joining us tomorrow on the live stream for anyone who's watching. And I just want to say thanks, everybody, for tuning in, those who are here live and those who are watching later. If you are curious to learn more about career therapy, always you can head over to careertherapy.com. Go check out kobe.org and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I'll see you all bright and early tomorrow. Cheers.
I'm too old for this. Been around this, broken down for way too long. Left my home for this. Story-eyed, it's no surprise. Things went wrong. What was I thinking, babe? All the mistakes I made.